Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Emily Martin. I'm NCEDA's Program Manager, and we're excited to have you with us. Before getting started, I'd like to review the logistics of this webinar platform. You'll see on the screen a few important logistics to read through as attendees. To reiterate, all attendees are muted and will stay muted during the presentation. The best viewing option for your screen is called Speaker View, which you'll see as a viewing option at the bottom of your screen. We will have a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. During that segment and at any time during the presentation, you can type your question into the Q&A box. To access this option, click Q&A at the bottom of your screen and then type in your question. These questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. If we are unable to answer all of the questions live, NCEDA will send out a response sheet to all participants afterwards. We will not be checking the chat box for questions, just the Q&A, so be sure to use that button. This webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording will be sent to all registrants to use as a resource. At this time, I'd like to introduce NCEDA board member Alan Wood, who will offer welcoming remarks and introduce our presenters.
Thanks, Emily. Unlike in any crisis in our memory, COVID-19 has delivered a direct hit to small businesses across North Carolina. Especially hard hit have been restaurants, retailers, and local merchants. Economic development organizations are set up to help our business communities navigate unfamiliar terrain, serving as conduits for accurate and up-to-date information and intelligence. Today's webinar showcases an innovative new tool that can facilitate reopening and, to paraphrase Jerry Maguire, help us help them. Good morning, I am Alan Wood. I serve on the NCEDA board, and I am the president of Burke Development in Morganton. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Support Local Businesses with ZoomBusiness, presented by GIS Planning. We'll start in just a minute. First, let me say how much we appreciate support from GIS Planning for this valuable professional development offering. The company's generosity is a key to NCEDA's efforts to keep our members informed during these challenging times. I'm going to ask everyone to take a close look at the screen as we look at the logos of some of NCEDA's supporters. NCEDA Longleaf Pine, Dogwood, and patron sponsors. Their support for our mission has never been more critical or appreciated. So a shout out to these important group of economic development advocates and all they do. Technology continues to change the way economic developers serve our towns and counties and regions. It happens in recessions and recoveries and impacts all aspects of our work. But the COVID-19 crisis has severed basic economic development connections between business and customers. Today's webinar explores a new tool that can help local economies by reconnecting companies with the community. Our two experts will look and sound familiar to those who participated in last week's webinar on tools and tips for developing a more powerful website. They are Stevie Fields Chavez and Alyssa Schuyler. Stevie has been associated with GIS for almost 20 years. She's currently Vice President of Regional Sales with the company. Her background includes management of an economic development organization. She has expertise that spans project management, lead generation, technology, and sales. Stevie grew up in Southern California, though she does say y'all, and her family now resides in Columbia, South Carolina. Alyssa is VP of Marketing at GIS. She applies her unique knowledge in economic development communication, marketing, and social media to help clients fine-tune their marketing campaigns. Alyssa is a native of Montreal, Canada, and holds a master's and doctoral degrees in communication, cultural studies from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Stevie, Alyssa, thank you for being here. I'll now turn the webinar over to you. I think Alyssa is going to start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan, and thank you very much to NCEDA for having us on today. Stevie, it's always a pleasure to be co-presenting with you. I do look forward to our webinars together.
As do I.
I am going to just share my screen over here so that I can just say a couple things as we begin today. So let me just start off our slideshow. We're going to be looking at how to support local businesses, especially small and medium-sized businesses. I suppose technically we could be talking about bigger ones, but we know it's the small and medium-sized businesses that are particularly hurting during COVID-19 recovery. We don't know how long recovery is going to last, but even going forwards, what are some of the things that we can really be doing to support these small and medium-sized businesses? They are, after all, the lifeblood of our area economy, right? We know about to 90% of any region's jobs are going to come from these businesses. Even though we think about investment attraction a lot of times as economic developers, it's clearly important that we help keep these folks up and running. And we know that disasters hit these small and medium-sized businesses really hard. They tend to be debt averse, so loans are difficult for them to take on. There's all sorts of programs out there, and I know that they're counting so much on economic developers. We're hearing wonderful stories about new kinds of collaboration that are happening between chambers and cities and counties and regional organizations and the businesses in their area, and that's really encouraging. We're hoping that will go forward. Before I hand this over to Stevie, I just want to say a couple things I guess about where ZoomBusiness came from. When the pandemic first hit in March, GIS Planning was looking for different ways that we really could support economic developers. There were a few things that we did. I've got some examples here. So ZoomBusiness is one of the things we're going to talk about. One of the other things that we did was provide this free interactive data mapping tool that uses daily updated data about COVID-19 specific to counties and areas across the US. Anyone can, it's just a little bit of code, you can go and grab that. We're happy to provide the link to that if you want to post that anywhere on your website. That's very useful. We gave our clients the ability to add local data layers without any additional charge related to Zoom Prospector into their sites and buildings GIS tool, Zoom Prospector, many of you know that one. We added the Chmura Jobs EQ Job Loss Vulnerability Index as a layer, both within Zoom Prospector and also in the free COVID-19 data mapping tool that we're giving to any US community that wants to use it. And then we also have a data center in the back end of our tool. Now, Stevie, I'm going to turn this over to you in a moment, but I think it's really interesting to think about where ZoomBusiness came from, because I think we were in a webinar probably about, was it 2.5 months ago, maybe 9 weeks? I don't know, it's all a little bit of a blur. And we had all of these economic developers on there. We were talking about the different ways we were helping support them. And we said to them, what do you need from us? And I guess what we were hearing from them was this idea of how to support these local businesses. I think you tell this in a more compelling way than I do.
No, I think that was exactly the way it happened. You know, we surveyed some of the attendees, and being able to list businesses who were open and who were still doing business, or what requirements they had, were very important. And so out of that came a conversation with our team, and ZoomBusiness was born. So it was very organic, the way that all transpired. It was very cool.
It really was. And basically what the tool is it's a live interactive map directory of all of the businesses in your region. And the idea being that your residents, consumers in the area, they want to shop local right now. They recognize how important these small and medium-sized businesses are. Sure, you know, we were used to shopping online in the past. It's easy to go on, I won't name any names, but there's lots of websites out there that promise to get you things right away. But that money leaves your community. So ZoomBusiness was a way to connect area residents with the small and medium-sized businesses, and we wanted to make this as easy as possible. So we made it possible for the businesses to add themselves and to edit their listings on there without having to generate a username or a password. Now, economic developers, you're still able to review the data. You know, you always want to make sure that there's some quality control and you know who's in there. It's also possible to batch add. We give you a spreadsheet template. But the idea being that if you want to find a pharmacy or a grocery store or a hardware store or a health clinic, that you could go on to this tool for your region and you can find it. And in the 9 weeks that we have launched ZoomBusiness, I think we're in over 80 communities in the US and Canada, which is astonishing in just a few weeks, really. And part of the reason for that is that we made it super easy to do. So we can have your ZoomBusiness tool set up in one business day. And the color can be used to match the branding elsewhere on your website. So that's been a really big thing. I think we have over 14,000 businesses listed across those 80 communities across North America, which is, that's a lot of businesses that we're helping out.
It is, absolutely, absolutely. And Elisa, I hate to ask this question because it just feels like one of those drinking games. Can you see my screen?
I can indeed.
I promise not to use the word pivot. So, so with that, I think I'm going to jump into just how the tool works. And then Elisa's going to share some marketing tips on how to maybe promote this in your community should you decide to that you want one of these for your community. We're going to use Rowan EDC. They're one of our clients in the state. As just a side note, if you are a client of GIS Planning, you have this built. This is at your fingertips, and you can use this and get started with this right away. So we'll kind of go into a little bit of that later. So your community would be outlined here, and you get to drive a lot of some of the decisions here, like the colors of your icons, the colors of your business cards, as well as the branding of the overall site. So there's decisions that you get to make, of course, with your logo and your contact information. Any user can come to the application. It will be renamed. That's in the process. So these were built for COVID-19, and just kind of, it was a really great fix, I think, for a really substantial problem in communities, which is how do I find out what businesses are open or closed or doing curbside delivery. This is actually also a very a lead retention or a business retention kind of tool. So businesses can continue sharing their information post-COVID, because we are also building for a post-COVID world. And so but you know, being in the East Coast, I'm here in South Carolina, we need something when storms come in and you know, our environment's changing a little bit, and something like this is really a great fix for that. So your user can start very similar to the GIS site selection tool, can start by city, county. If you are a multi-regional, you can actually have all of the communities listed. We will sort those for you. You just tell us the name of your community. You can see we list them all for you, so your user can understand what choices they have. I can search for any type of open business. We have tons of different categories within. These are changing every day. We're adding new categories to this. It really just started with 5, and we just kept adding and adding. We also have health facility information. So clinics, dedicated testing sites. I know that these are changing, and so having the ability to include those, I think, is super important these days. We also have more filters, which is if you know the name of a business that you want to search for, you can actually add that information, or you're wanting to search for a restaurant or sandwich shop, you can add something like that in keywords. Very similar again to the site selection tool, we have the ability to draw an area on our map and only search maybe our highlighted area. So perhaps I'm only looking at a particular part of town and I want to shop something that's close to me. And so I can highlight this, and I can only search this highlighted area for any type of business or health facility that meets my criteria. The big question we typically get is, how does a business add their information? We understand that you, the economic development professional, you do not have time to start data entering all of your business information in. And you can see we've got a lot of businesses in our system. So they simply go to add a business, and we'll take a look at what that looks like after we take a look at one of the business cards. Your user, I mentioned, can search by address, date added, city, county, zip. We're going to take a look at one of these businesses right now. We'll look at Go Burrito. You can see that the business can add photo, they can add video, even drone imagery if if they don't happen to have anything. Any kind of notes, and we'll take a look at what that looks like when they enter. I know here in Columbia, South Carolina, it's changing every day in terms of what the requirements are. Certain areas in our state have started requiring that masks be worn in grocery stores or in pharmacies. I think ours goes to City Council tonight to see what happens. And so our community businesses will be able to change their information as the information is changing. Property information, or excuse me, yeah, well, it says property details, very similar to our site tool, but business information as to where this business is located. Hours, there could be multiple hours, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday closed, website, takeout, delivery, YouTube. So is there a video, and then even edit this business. So let's take a look real quick here at, I've got this tab opened up. We're gonna, here we go. So when I've clicked add a business, that little button that we saw on the top, this is what I'm going to come to. It's going to be entering my business name and my email. That email is important for your businesses because that's the email that they're going to receive their activation link to, which allows them to come in and make any type of edits to the information that they're listing. Address, any suite number. The reason that this little bubble here is kind of important, if I'm on, let's say I'm in a strip mall and I want to show you where on that street that I am, I'm going to be able to move my little bubble around just to kind of give you a better idea of where to look. Business contact information. Yes, this business is active, meaning this business is open. And what type of business am I? Am I a bakery? That sounds good because I'm hungry. I haven't eaten this morning. A description of what type of business. Are there any senior hours? Masks are required. 20% off or 10% off for mention of ZoomBusiness listing. That's where they're going, your business is going to put all of the information that they really want to communicate to their potential patrons. Hours of operation, phone, website, of course. Is there a parking meter? Do I need to make sure I bring change? A lot of businesses are doing GoFundMes for their staff, and that's where this information would go here. Yes, we offer takeout, we offer delivery. Please call when you get 5 minutes away, or call when you're in the parking lot. Describe your color of car. Whatever type of delivery information is needed, that's where this information is going to go. Do we offer gift cards? Do we have a Facebook? And are we allowing dine-in? I know that's changing quite a bit. So you can see the information is really straightforward. It would probably take me 5 minutes to upload that information. And then once that information is in the back of in the system, that's when you, the economic developer, are going to have to activate the listing. The reason we built the activation, it's not to create different new work for you, but it's to control the type of businesses that you have listed in your community. Some type of businesses you may not want on a forward-facing site like that, so that allows you the opportunity to say yes or no. All you have to do is approve the listing. It's a one-click, and that is just going to rewrite the script, and it's going to approve that business. So now that, or unapprove is what I did. So that business can now no longer be seen by the public, even though the information is in your system. You as the economic developer also have the ability to edit information. So for example, if I know that a business, it has changed their hours or has closed, we in Columbia have had businesses closing because COVID has been found amongst the staff. So the business is now no longer open until 14 days, and they've gone through all of the measures. And so I can edit this information or show as inactive, as you know that to be. So you've got a lot of control. There's another question that we get asked quite a bit is, I already have a spreadsheet of my business data. Can I upload that in? And the answer is yes. So we provide a template. We can modify the template that you have so we have the correct information. You may have to fill in a couple of the pieces like, is there a GoFundMe page, you know, anything like that. But you can upload the information directly into ZoomBusiness. So we make that very easy. You can add additional information. You can manage as much as you want to manage. And you can, of course, let it fly as much as you can want to let it fly. Also in the back end, where you have the control, you're going to see additional data layers. What we've done is we have provided data layers for multiple, for all across the country, and you can see we've got information on cases, the unfortunate deaths, which is just, it's so hard to talk about, y'all. I still can't believe some of our, this is kind of the life that we're in. But I can also view charts of information and export these charts to your website. So we understand that a lot of communities have access to grants because of COVID data and showing COVID data. And so you can export any of these charts, grants or not, and at least share with your your community what's happening in terms of COVID-19 cases within your particular county. A couple of more neat features about the application is the ability to save properties, or excuse me, save businesses. I've got to keep that straight, by creating a folder. So this is a different state, but I did want to show this because I wanted to show all of the photos that they have listed with their businesses. I always think that that's really cool to have the photos. It just makes it look, I'm a visual person, and that makes it look more interesting. And so I'm saving some of these restaurants into my folder so I can at any time look at my saved results, and all of the restaurants that I've hearted will show up in the folder that I've named. I can have multiple photos. So if I want to show a photo or a folder of testing sites, I can put all of those sites together and I can share that on any social media network. I can copy this link, and I always suggest, if you're part of last week's meeting, I always suggest you rename the link. I can also share results directly in an email. So there's multiple ways to get information out about your open businesses. Elisa, I think that really that was a quick overview, but I think that was a pretty good little tour. I think you've got a couple of marketing pieces that you want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Because part of what we are really committed to is not just giving people the tools for something like ZoomBusiness, but also showing them how to use it as effectively as possible. And so we provide a whole, I'm just gonna play from here so you can see, we provide a whole set of marketing, I guess a marketing package so that you can get up and running as quickly as possible. And we've got best practices from lots of different communities that have done a really great job with it. So examples of social posts, of PDF guides. You can see here, this is Expand Greater Springfield in Ohio. They put together a how to add a business virtual guide. It's actually pretty easy to do, but it's really nice to offer that element of handholding, especially to small and medium-sized businesses that may not have, they don't have a comms team. They're doing this maybe at midnight on a Tuesday after running their business all day. So we want to make this as easy as possible. So it's very visual. I'll provide lots of examples to anyone who implements this. How do you get your businesses to know about your ZoomBusiness tool? How do you show them how to add things? How do you show them how to edit their listings if they want to? That's the first part. Then we have a very simple things that you can do in order to promote your ZoomBusiness tool to the consumers and residents in your area. We have examples of clients who've done a great job partnering with their local chamber, partnering with their local newspaper. We've seen some fantastic examples that where the local newspaper then provides constant ads and links for the ZoomBusiness tool for that particular region. So that way consumers are willing to open it and they know that they can go there. And it makes sense actually for the newspaper because after all, their ad revenue comes from the small and medium-sized businesses in their area. So it's in their best interest to make sure that these folks survive as well. So there's lots of really interesting ways that you can do that. We provide a press release template. So you don't even have to write one yourself. Of course you can if you want to, but you can also just use the example we have, modify, throw in a couple quotes, and send it to your local newspapers. We've had numerous communities who implemented ZoomBusiness who got pickup from their local press, which makes sense because everyone's worried about the businesses in their area, and it's really wonderful to have an example of something proactive that's being done in order to support them. So the media whether it's radio or television or bloggers or print, they're really happy to be able to run something like this because they want to see that things are being done to support them. I think I see I have some other examples. Here's another one. This is from Columbia, South Carolina. They also put together a virtual guide. I think they were the original ones to do this actually, and very generously agreed to share that with us so we could show it to other communities, how they could create their own versions of it. Some other examples here. This is from Rowan County, I believe, of some great social posts that they put together, and they also generously let us share with others so you can see. As Stevie, I think, mentioned, we have on our website a downloadable PDF poster for the Zoom Business that you can customize with the URL for your area. And then businesses can post that in their windows if they want to, or create a PDF of it for their website to help communicate this to others. And I really think this makes a big difference. Some other examples here, this Abbotsford, British Columbia, their social posts here. This is an example from Fayette County, Georgia. They partnered with their local newspaper, The Citizen, to shop local, to know who's open, to understand, as Stevie said, do they have a gift card stimulus program? Have they suddenly put together a new website and they're offering curbside pickup, for example? Are there modified business hours? So all that information can actually be on there so that you're able to provide that information. Some other examples, I think we have Pasadena, Texas, Columbia, South Carolina, sharing things on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, put stuff on Instagram, whatever you're using in your community to connect with people, I think is really important. So we've put all that together in a series of very short, easy to follow articles. You're not on your own. We will help you get the word out about Zoom Business. And I always liken that to it's almost as if you want to throw a party, but if you don't send out any invitations, no one's going to show up to your party. So it's very much the same thing with your web tools. You want to put together this fantastic web tool. The next step, of course, is making people aware that it's there so that they can take advantage of it as much as possible.
Absolutely. It's so important. I mean, I can't tell you how many times my husband and I have thought, what do you want for dinner tonight? What's open?
Right.
Wanting to order something, but you're not sure what's open out there. A lot of our restaurants have modified hours. And so our community has done a really great job of getting the word out to our businesses. So they're constantly being updated. So now we can check the system. So I think that's it's so important that you share with everybody, and everybody. You can have an application like this, and your chamber can point to it. Your CVB can point to it. Any of your newspaper, everyone can have a what do we call it? A poster that says, you know, find out what businesses are open, click here, and it's going to take the user directly into Zoom Business. And so if everyone promotes it and you've got one site that's really kind of working at promoting who's open and what requirements are there, what restrictions are there, mask required, senior hours, etc., then everybody's kind of on the page of what's happening in your community. And the systems we can program to talk to each other. So if you have a Zoom Business and let's say your county agency has a Zoom Business, we can have those talk to each other. So all of your open businesses would also communicate to the county application. And so those businesses would show up on a county level or a regional level or a state level. So that's the neat thing about technology, is that we can program these systems to all talk to each other. So they share data, so information can be found in multiple places with only one point of entry.
Absolutely. So that automatic sync that you're talking about is just a huge time saver, and it becomes almost like a regional ecosystem for the businesses in your area. We want to get the word out about them to as many people as possible. I think that's absolutely critical. And it's useful going forward beyond the COVID phase as well, because you get the chance, now you, first of all, created rapport with your local businesses, which is very valuable for nurturing them, making them feel supported. It's frankly important to incoming investors or new businesses because they want to get a sense of what the local business environment is like. I mean, this is just a beautiful example of that virtual community happening online. So any potential investor into your community would be very interested in a tool like this. And it gives you a constantly refreshed list of all the businesses in your area. That I know that's something that we offer in Zoom Prospector. We update that business data 4 times a year, but people may not think to what they usually think of as a GIS tool or a sites and buildings database, specifically just to look for that. So this is a way to kind of share that information with your community stakeholders broadly. And I know, you know, throughout this pandemic, but even before, people are like, well, you know, can anyone recommend a really good sushi restaurant? Or, you know, is there a hardware store that's open? At least for us, using some of the big online retailers, the ones that are not local, even if you've got their Prime program, it can sometimes take a long time to get something. So it's almost this interesting hyper-local moment where it's faster and easier to buy something really local because you can go out and get it right away or have it next day rather than waiting for it to get shipped to you. So important to help our local businesses take advantage of that and create that. I guess it's a real community feeling, isn't it, Stevie, when we're supporting each other?
Absolutely. It's made a difference for us on just where we shop and what's, you know, again, what's open, what's local, what their requirements are. Do we need a mask? So I did mention earlier that if you have Zoom Prospector Enterprise, which is our full edition application, that this is already built for you. I know many of you have what we call the local edition, which is the EDPNC version. There would be an upgrade required, but it is very, very, very inexpensive. And with that upgrade, you get like the whole kit and caboodle. So you get the lead forensics and you get all of the different tools that we offer. So if you have any questions on this and would like a private demo, please give us a call at or send me an email at sfield@gisplanning.com. If you're already a client, a full edition client, you can contact support@gisplanning.com, and Jeff or Chris will be happy to answer any questions and get you started. And if you need any marketing tips, let me tell you, Elisa is amazing at just how to promote your website and drive traffic to your website and get that information out there so people pay attention. Some of our smallest clients have had more traffic on their sites than any of our larger clients. It really is just a matter of how dedicated you want to be to connect the dots so everybody's on the same page and pointing to the same sites. So Elisa's great at that.
Thank you, Stevie. It's a pleasure. I mean, one of the best parts of my job is working individually with our clients to help them use these tools to effectively market themselves as effectively as possible. And Stevie, one of the best things about Zoom Business, I mean, I find this with all of our tools, but we've really seen this happen with Zoom Business, is that we get our best ideas from our clients. So as people have suggestions about how to modify something or a way to organize something a little bit different, especially with a new product like Zoom Business that we're lucky to have a development team that is so responsive and can go in and make changes so quickly. We love to hear from you. You tell us what you're looking for. Absolutely. And we're happy to accommodate you.
Absolutely. Our best ideas have come from the clients, and I was a client 20 years ago. So we absolutely believe that. So keep the ideas coming. If there's new categories that need to be added or something that you could see would be an improvement, we always love to hear from you. And check out our website. There is a COVID-19 link on our website where you can download graphs and charts that are updated daily. And you can put that on your website, and that is of no charge. So you can access that anytime you want.
Yeah, that's really useful to know. I think it's important also to let you know that if you have any questions here, we're happy to take those. I do see that there is one question in there. How are people handling the businesses they don't approve? That's a really good question. I don't know, Steve, if you have any suggestions. I can think of a.
Well, I did answer this in the string, but typically we haven't heard of any businesses that haven't been approved, but we leave that up to you. I could see, as a former economic developer, I would not want businesses adult in nature to have a listing on my, government paid for site or, my economic development site. So that would be maybe where I would probably not allow that information, or vaping shops, and it's completely up to you. It's your discretion. You could have everybody list their information, but that's probably that's what I would do. So that was how I answered that question.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of reasons why you might not want to approve them. for example, if they don't meet certain, criteria, if their information is incomplete, if you suspect that someone has just made it up. I guess they have contact information that they put in there, so I would reach out to them gently and let them know. If it's just a matter of adding the correct information or updated information, that's one thing. If, as Stevie says, they just are, isn't something that you want to put out there as a public business, maybe that's another question to have with them. But generally, sharing that, answering them one-on-one is a good way to handle it. But again, I have to say that of the almost 80 implementations, I have not had this really come up and become a problem yet. If it does, reach out to me. Happy to help you find a diplomatic way to address it.
Absolutely.
If there are any other questions, as we said, feel free to add them into the Q&A. You also had our contact information. I believe it will be shared in the follow-up email. Please feel free to reach out to us if you would like to. We're happy to add that in.
Perfect. And I think we're going to turn it back over to Alan and Liz.
Thank you, Stevie and Elisa. Something's up with my camera, so that's okay. You don't have to look at me anymore. Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for sharing your knowledge on this. It was great. NCDA appreciates GIS Planning, our host for today's webinar, and also to that list of annual sponsors we showed you earlier. Thank you to everyone who makes these types of events possible. Reminder to everyone about another webinar on the calendar for Thursday, June 25th from noon to 1. Spend your lunch hour with NCDA members to hear experts discuss course corrections for the strategic plan. Moderated by Crystal Morphus and featuring Leanne Howe, Nathan Hewitt, and Jason Vaughn. The webinar is sponsored by AgriSell. NCDA's annual conference is also coming up August 25th through 27th in Wrightsville Beach. You can learn more about the webinar and conference by visiting our website, www.nceda.org. Thank you for participating with us today. We hope to see you Thursday or soon thereafter. In the meantime, stay safe, stay confident, and stay connected.